Hi everyone, Jules here with Dropping Jules, and today I have my guest Ash all the way from Wellington, Florida. Hi Ash, how are you?
I'm good, Julie. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I am well. I'm well. Thank you so much. We're so honored to have you and to share your journey in real estate and your business. So we'll go ahead and without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So, Ash, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief because there's a lot of intricate parts and different details. So yeah, originally from the UK. Even though I've lost my accent a little bit through the years, just of
It's still there.
living.
It's still there.
It's still there, but it kind of fluctuates. When I'm around English people, they kind of like, wait, like what's going on with your accent? Anyway, I digress. I've already digressed in the first 10 seconds, but anyway. So, born and raised in the UK. My whole family is still there. I grew up in a quite a small town just north of London, and kind of in the countryside. And when I was a kid, had a passion for animals and specifically horses, and so I started to ride horses, compete, and I kind of grew up doing that. And
Mhm,
then when I finished school, I kind of had to make a decision: do I go to college or do I pursue a career with the horses and specifically in show jumping?
mhm,
And so I decided, that was the path I wanted to take. And so that led me to a few different places. I lived in Germany for a couple of years. I was, at the time, I was competing horses. So I was also training them. I was doing a lot of different stuff when it comes to like management and et cetera with the horses. And so was riding competing training in Germany for a
mhm.
couple of years at probably the largest horse breeder producer on the planet, over 5,000 horses a year.
Oh wow.
Pretty huge operation. And then that led me, basically helped me build a pretty substantial network because of the type of people that would, it was such a big operation. It meant people from all over the world would come and visit and come and
Mhm.
train. And so it led me to kind of really starting to meet a lot of people all across the planet, which was pretty awesome. And really from that opportunity led me to
Yeah.
Mexico. So I lived 2 years in
Okay.
Mexico as well. I worked for quite a wealthy guy down in Monterrey, which is kind of about 2 hours south of the Texas border. Really, really pretty city. And same thing, I was riding horses, I was competing
Mhm,
them, I was training, I was working for him and kind of managing all that stuff. And then kind of got a taste for this side of the world, I guess. And
mhm.
so ended up in 2015 moving to the US. So I was in California 2 years and I moved to Florida, Wellington, about 7, almost 8 years ago now. And that's kind of really been my home since then. Again, when I first moved to the States, I was still heavily involved in the actual competition side and riding horses. But as the years have progressed and kind of the way the business has shifted now is I'm focused more on the investment side. And so kind of now rather than showing up in riding clothes to my farm, I show up just in jeans and on the ground every day, which is a big shift for me. But kind of realized that's where more of my interest desires are from being an entrepreneur and kind of very business minded. And so kind of what a lot of we do now is we buy horses under a syndicate model. So we find horses in mostly in Europe. We put a bunch of investors together, same as
Mhm.
you would with a real estate deal, and basically then acquire those horses, bring them to the US, and then I don't. It's kind of similar to a fix and flip model. We'll buy them. We'll basically add value for our business. That would be putting basically training them, competing them, getting them more sort of geared towards the U.S. market, U.S.
Oh,
clientele, which is primarily ultra high net worth individuals and their kids and et cetera that actually compete in
mhm.
the sport, and then we end up selling those horses on and basically keep recycling that model. So kind of similar to a fix and flip model, but with a live, pretty big animal involved.
Yeah, just dive a little bit deeper in there. So when you say you add value, training, can you go into that a little bit more? Because people, understand, adding value in a fix and flip, adding a room, adding extra storage. How does it equate again?
Yeah, so in our case, it's a lot of things around sort of if you think about like training an athlete or producing an athlete, there's a lot of involved. Obviously, we're training animals, right? So there's an element of them kind of, I guess, going back to my point from before. Typically in the US, the sport is made up of, especially in equestrian, it's primarily the ultra net worth. Typically, that model, that avatar of clientele, generally speaking, wants horses that are obviously very safe. They're
Mhm.
very easy to ride. They're very, I would say, simplistic in the sense of like, you know, pushing the buttons in a sense
Right.
in how you ride these horses and
Mhm.
how you can actually compete those horses. So our goal is to really kind of sort of make things a lot more simple, I guess, in a sense, make the horses easier to ride. If there's temperament issues, work on that.
Mhm.
Kind of these little kind of areas that just basically makes the animal more enjoyable to ride and compete. They're
Yes.
better, like bridle with a bit in the mouth. They're easier to ride, etc. So we do a lot of that, plus getting more competition results. So riders that work for us, they'll compete those horses, get competition results, which then also adds value to the animal
Mhm.
and obviously shows that it's progressing and moving up in a level. In our sport with show jumping, it's a height category, so moving up in the height that they're competing at,
Okay.
which then adds that value and ideally, goal being to sell for more money.
Yeah, I love that you equated to a fix and flip. So yeah, that's awesome. And talk to us a little bit more about the syndication. So same thing as you're getting a group of investors and you're purchasing ultra high net worth horses, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we basically, again, very similar. It's very similar to a real estate or kind of really anything you're raising capital for. A scenario that I've been involved in for over 20 years. So of course, built up a pretty decent track record between myself and my partners. And so, yeah, a lot of what we do is we'll constantly networking for new capital sources, right? So,
Mhm.
like with anything you're doing, and I think that's a truly valuable skill. And I know Pace talks about it tremendously. It's like if all I was raise capital, that's really anything I would really want you to learn or to be honest, because if you're
Sure.
able to raise capital, you'll always make money and you'll also always the deals will always come to you.
Right.
And I take that to heart, and it's something I've always been doing anyway. So it's kind of refreshing to hear him say that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, we basically, we network, we work with a lot of different individuals that really, in a sense, have a passion for the horse sport.
Mhm.
There's an element of obviously quite a substantial amount of risk in my sport compared to just buying a real estate asset, right? Because
Sure.
we're dealing with a live animal.
Mhm.
Things can happen. They can get injured, they can get hurt, they can die. There's a lot
Mhm.
of factors that can go into play.
Mhm.
Obviously, the expenses, etc. The overhead is extremely enormous going out the gate. So there's a lot
Mhm.
of factors, which means the risk profile of my investors is typically a lot higher. Hence,
Yes.
why generally speaking, they're ultra high net worth individuals where they can if something adverse was to happen, thankfully we've been very fortunate that that's very rarely occurred. They can sustain losing
Yes.
the investment, but it's
Mhm.
very rare in our sense. We're very experienced. We mitigate the risks,
Yes.
and
Mitigate.
like any
Mhm.
deal, right, you do
Yeah.
everything you can. You underwrite the deal, you mitigate the risk as best as you can. Of course,
Mhm.
unforeseen things can happen.
Sure.
But yeah.
Oh wow, it's great to hear the parallel with the business that you're doing as well as with real estate. So, how is the UK market different from US market?
Like you mean the horse market, you
The
mean, or
horse market. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
They treat it differently. I mean, I'm sure I'm not saying the right words, but
No, 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 no. So yeah, I mean the horse market, equestrian market, whatever you want to class it as. I would say looking at sort of not just the UK, but like just the bigger part of Europe, continental
Europe.
Europe,
Mhm.
etc. as well. Really, the US is very unique market compared to basically anywhere else on the planet. As I said, I feel like in the UK, especially where I grew up, it was I don't come from money. By any means grew up very middle class, always had enough to get by, but never enough to, be flashy or go and buy expensive things or
Mhm.
expensive horses or whatever the
Mhm.
case may be. So, growing up in the UK and then spending obviously a lot of time in continental Europe as well, Germany, etc. The sport is much more of the barrier to entry is much lower. The cost of competing, the cost of buying horses, the cost of everything is a lot cheaper.
Mhm.
It's a lot easier to just be able to go and compete. My first pony that we bought was like £1,000, so like it's
Mhm.
about the same 1,500 US, something like that, or whatever the exchange rate is right now.
Yeah.
And so like it's a lot cheaper entry. Whereas in the US, again, because of the clientele that is involved in the sport in the US is very unique to really anywhere else on the planet.
Mhm.
It, it's created more of like an elitist sport in the US. So again, as I said, it's not just high net worth; it's primarily ultra high net worth. A
Ultra
lot
high
of
net. Mhm.
So again, that's obviously amazing in the sense that it means I meet a lot of phenomenal people, famous actors,
Mhm.
billionaires, just every kind of walk of life when it comes to that. When you look at that caliber of wealth and status and celebrity, uh,
Mhm.
a lot of their either themselves or their kids are riding or involved in the sport, which is pretty fantastic. To be honest, actually, funny enough, there's statistic that we're actually what Wellington when the season is, which the season in Wellington is January through March. That's when basically all high level equestrians globally come to Wellington, Palm Beach County. I
Mhm.
think we're like number three in terms of wealth that the equestrian world generates
Mhm.
in Palm Beach County. I think it's like behind like Major League Baseball, and then I'm blanking on what the
Oh,
number
wow.
one. Golf.
That's,
Sorry, golf.
oh,
Obviously,
golf. Yeah.
yeah, it's golf, and then it's like Major League Baseball, and then it's the equestrian.
That's equestrian. Wow,
Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah.
so
Yeah. And to think we lived there, huh? But yeah, my parents lived in Wellington. Wow. I remember the first time we chatted and you say, well, I'm like, Wellington, Florida? Yeah, I know what
yeah,
a small world. What a small
yeah.
world.
No, this tiny little town that no one's really ever heard of is
Yes.
host to pretty major sporting events through the winter season. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome. So I digress. Sorry, I took you off and had you segue. So continue on. Sorry.
No, of course, okay. Yeah.
So you got involved in that, and how did you get started? How did you equate that to real estate and got started in the Pace Morby sub two world?
Yeah. Well, really, so I guess kind of going back to like I guess the network that I built from the equestrian world
Hmm.
and, doing a lot of deals and gaining a lot of trust with a lot of these ultra net worth individuals, it kind of allowed me to sort of, really sort of by accident, in a sense, like start
Hmm.
to incorporate other services. So basically looking at the idea of taking your existing customer base and covering other verticals essentially.
Sure.
So probably just about 6 years ago, I got into some other asset classes, everything from I was doing a lot of private jet stuff, a little bit in the yacht world, exotic cars is investments, and also then real estate involved with that, getting my real estate license in Florida, and getting investing into kind of commercial type assets and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and kind of it just from having that customer base of people that trusted you, that know like and trust you, right? It
Right.
kind of just like lended itself into providing other services, because typically at that those type of individuals, their group of people that they have around them, their inner circle is very, very small, because
Yes.
again, they don't typically trust a lot of people, because there's always people trying to screw them over, like out for their money, all these different things. So they're very tight knit about who they actually work with, and they talk, and the
Yeah.
guys at level talk to each other. And so if you do a good deed by one person, likelihood is going to refer to something else. And again, being around these guys too, especially on the real estate side, most all of them are heavy invested in real estate in some case or another, whether that's
Mhm.
actively, that's part of their main wealth generator, or it's the, byproduct of where they put capital that they've produced from other businesses. So
Mhm.
real estate was always something that I was very interested in, more than really the other things I was doing. And then
Mhm.
really the last sort of, I would say 3 years or so is when really I've been making more of a heavier push in real estate. A few things, really the first one being kind of the older I'm getting, I'm not that I'm in mid 30s, but kind of
Oh my
the older
gosh, another
I'm out of my 20s, is my point.
one.
And,
Yeah.
well, I guess kind of going back to what I was saying about risk profile for the equestrian investments, is that I feel like I'm at an age now where I'm more about how can I sort of be, I guess, how can I not go to bed at night stressing about the assets and the investments I have?
Yes.
And
Mhm.
I realized that I need to start kind of diversifying some of my capital, and so liquidating some of the equestrian assets and start moving into real estate. And for me, that's really kind of what the zone I guess I'm in right now, is like,
Mhm.
how can I start to look at the assets I have and just look at ways to just, okay, likelihood, of course, I'm reducing my potential ROI, but at the same time, reducing the risk factor, and mitigating a lot of the risks around the investments like I have, I guess, in my overall existing, uh,
Mhm.
portfolio. And so that's
Mhm.
really where the shift is going for me right now. And that's kind of why I'm, pushing more the real estate world. And then with sub two, I mean, I followed Pace for this literally when he launched sub two back in like 2020, but I actually didn't
Oh,
join
wow.
sub two until like August of last year. So still pretty new in the sub two side.
Yeah, but you've been doing it. I mean, if you equate it to what you're doing with the equestrian world to real estate world, yeah, it's the
Yeah.
same. And I think the same practices are there. People buy from people they like and trust. So it's the same thing in your world. And the experiences and the vertical that you're shifting, from the equestrian to real estate to other asset classes. I love that you had your hand in everything. You said jets,
Basically, anything super crazy, overpriced, high end, yeah, I
yeah,
somehow
yes,
had like
yes, I love it.
involvement in. And
That's
I still
awesome.
do some bits, like I still do some jet charters for clients and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I literally yesterday had clients flying out. So like I still do bits and pieces of that, but it's just more. It's not my main focus. More just work. I'm more about my relationships and just trying to add value. So like, and I'm ashamed to say I say yes to like a lot of things. So I
I
just
think we all do.
I want to help, So
Yeah.
yeah, I again where I can add value and
Mhm.
support guys that I know and people that I care about, then I'll you
That's
know
awesome. That's
help
great.
them out. So
So in the real estate world, what do you focus on? Do you have a certain strategy, certain asset class? What do you?
yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I've been involved in a bit of a variety of stuff. Everything from a little bit of multi-family stuff. I forgot to mention myself and a partner of mine. We have a small multi-family debt fund. We basically raise debt capital for multi-family, and so we
Mhm.
have kind of that as well. We've been running for about 4 years now, and we have
Okay.
done some kind of interesting investments there. We're mostly working with operators that have like legacy type properties, basically properties
Oh,
they own for a considerable amount of time.
mhm.
And so like that's always something I've been doing for the last 4 years on that side. But then for myself, I'm looking at primarily trying to focus on kind of lower end markets or sort of stuff like, Texas is a market I really am passionate about. My
Mhm.
girlfriend's family's from there.
Okay.
I enjoy spending time there. And so I'm kind of looking at markets like Midland, Texas, where, there's still a sense of affordability, I guess.
Mhm.
I
Yes.
feel like with Florida, it's a bit of a point where we're kind of too priced out.
Mhm.
Issues, of course, with insurance and just there's just so many issues that
Issues. Mhm.
factors that just makes it very difficult, I think, as a market to invest in. And so, and then the competition level. And so I'm looking at markets like Midland where, we already have a presence from other business activities. And there's a lot of opportunity for, sort of co-living, especially
Mhm.
that part of the world where it's, oil county and a
Yes.
lot of oil workers are out there. And so like, they need short-term or
Short term.
mid-term
Mhm.
housing options. Guys that will come in for 3 6 months, work on the oil fields, and they'll leave again. So there's a lot of demand for that type of housing. So that's really where a lot of my focus is going on for this year. Is looking
Mhm.
at properties that we can, buy and convert to more of a co-living type model, and especially in the markets where there is a bit more affordability. So that's a lot of my focus in this year. But I've been involved in some self storage stuff as well,
Okay.
which I think is a phenomenal asset class too. It's
Yes.
something I'm always looking for those type of deals.
Oh wow, yeah, got your hands in everything, which is awesome because you're able to diversify and you're able to shift and pivot on what the needs are. Co-living is amazing. I'm certainly working on that angle, and I love that you're saying it's midterm. You find a niche and you find an area that needs it, and it seems like Midland, Texas, definitely affordable.
Mhm.
This is for compared to Florida, right? The insurance was just quoting
Yeah,
on insurance here, and they had a win versus a non-win, and it was so that the price was like I'm like, oh my gosh, I was shocked. But I mean, I live here, so it's crazy. But
yeah, same. I mean, obviously living here, it's tough, So it's of course we have this goal that I'd love to just buy a real estate
here,
here where I live and do
yeah,
that. But I think it's especially right now, it's tough. I mean, not to say there is an opportunity. Of course, there's always opportunity. I feel like everywhere, right? You got to be the right
yeah,
place, right time. But
hmm
I think for consistent opportunity, and there's other markets that I think it's just I think it's a lot more a lot more possibilities. I think it's a lot more opportunity for appreciation. Whereas I think honestly we're a little bit tapped in Florida right now on the
hmm
appreciation side. I think we've just accelerated so quickly that I think now the demand is dropped a bit now, and it's
Mhm.
we're a little bit more stabilized than what we
Yeah,
were.
we'll see what this year brings as far as
Yeah,
interest
definitely.
for
Yeah,
sure.
this year could be very interesting, I think, for Florida for sure. So.
Correct. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So, for audience, what are you looking for? Are you looking for partnerships? Are you looking for capital? Um, why don't you share a little bit what you're looking for?
Yeah, on my side, I would say I'm mostly looking for deals right now. I'm a buyer, so I'm looking for opportunities for especially on the co-living side and self-storage as well. I'm also looking at also looking at businesses I'm acquiring too. So myself and a couple of partners, we're focused mostly on sort of um, like both commercial and residential type businesses. So like stuff like, for example, HVAC companies, electrical
Mhm.
contracting companies, plumbing companies, stuff like that. So we're kind of auxiliary type services, I guess, the real estate side.
From the real estate side.
So we're obviously we're actively looking for business to buy as well. So yeah, there's a few things there. Like I say, I'm in asset accumulation mode.
Yes, I
I'm
love it.
a
What
buyer.
areas? What states? Or are you as far as
Florida and Texas.
Florida
Yeah.
and Texas? Okay.
But I would say kind of central Florida and up, especially on like the business buying side. I
Hmm.
feel like especially South Florida, it's as a lot of things are inflated, or what
Hmm.
I've noticed at least that like businesses we're trying to buy, for example, typically a lot of the sellers are they do milk the company for a lot of capital just because South Florida lifestyle
Hmm.
creeps in, and
Yeah.
is whereas like in Central Florida, it's kind of going upwards. It's
Hmm.
less of that. There's less of the kind of needing to kind of
Hmm.
live to that, I guess, high level type lifestyle.
Yes, yes, for sure. And as far as the storage spaces, same Florida and
Same.
Texas.
I'll honestly, I would look anywhere at self storage. I'm not picky on self storage markets. To be honest, I'm very open because I think it's a tremendous asset class. I think
Yeah.
regardless of what market it's in, there's always opportunity. Especially right now when a lot of people maybe are downsizing just because of the cost of living is just has gotten so crazy that they can't necessarily afford what they have. But of course, they're going to keep all their shit, right? So they're going to typically put it into a storage unit, and I just again I have quite a bit of exposure. I have some very good friends that are very high level investors in that space and buy a tremendous amount of self storage. And yeah, I'm very open to looking at deals in every market. And again, if it's something bigger than maybe what I can take down, I have partners
Your
that
partners. Okay.
acquiring like $1 billion a year in self storage. So yeah,
We'll definitely
not
send
high
you
on that side of things. Yeah.
for sure. And what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
I'm very easy to reach out to. To be honest, I'm pretty active everywhere. If you LinkedIn, it's just my name, Ash Atkinson. Same with Facebook, Instagram. It's Ash Atkinson, and the number one. For some reason, I couldn't just get Ash Atkinson. Somebody
Of course.
else already had that, so I had to add a one to it. But yeah, I'm pretty easy other than that. So yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Any other last minute things you want to share with the audience before we wrap up?
Um, I would say, always be looking to raise capital would be a big thing. The biggest thing I've noticed in my life and what I do is the fact that you can never start too early, even if you don't have a deal right now. I think it's always
Mhm.
critical to build relationships with potential capital providers, and at the same time as well, especially those type of relationships, you can't go into those relationships always looking for something to be like to take something to like, hey,
Mhm.
invest in my deal, invest in my deal, invest in my deal. You've got to be thinking about how you add value first to that
Mhm.
relationship, where you can be a resource, where you can provide just something to that person or to that situation, and then potentially down the road that may lead to them investing in a deal you're involved in. And again, I actually Pace brought this up funny enough the other day. So just saying, not saying that I'm ripping what he said off, but it's something I've always thought about. Besides
Mhm.
that, but start off small. With us, we started off very small in terms of what we're looking to raise on, and then based upon that, just build it up, right, and
Sure.
build up the track record and the credibility around that, and
Mhm.
always do right by the investors. I've noticed, especially with the guys I work with, that circle is very small, and if you were
Mhm.
to I know it's guys that unfortunately have done either shady things or have taken money when they shouldn't have
Mhm.
done, or acted in a misappropriating funds or etc.
Mhm.
uh, that gets around quick, and you can bury yourself pretty quickly. And day you're only as good as your last deal, and protect the capital at all costs. That's my biggest thing too. Is that was instilled to me pretty early. Do everything you can to protect the capital. That's the number one priority, and then kind of go from
Yes.
there. So do things right, then
Yeah.
hopefully that'll lead to big opportunities, and go to bed at night
Yeah.
sleeping well.
Yeah. That's right. Do the right thing even when no one's looking, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you put it in the right way. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah.
And famous pace words: raise capital 6 months before you need it, or like you
At
said,
least, I mean, years. I mean, especially like
years.
some of those
Yeah.
I'm looking at, like these are years and years of relationships, and always tell people what you're doing, and always be very clear about it, and kind of what you're looking to build and what you're working on, and just with no expectations, because you never know that one day someone could be like, oh hey, what when you doing this thing with real estate, like I just made made 30-50 grand on this something over here, like I want I need some depreciation this year, and I'm just trying to figure out like do you have any deals maybe that we
Hmm.
can get involved in, I could put some money towards, like those things happen all the time. And
Sure.
so the more you just network, the more you connect with people in a very genuine way,
Hmm.
um, you know, could lead to some things coming your way. So
Absolutely. Relationships. Real estate's a relationship business. So
it is very much.
true.
I've always said that the what it is, the investment, the asset, regardless if it's a horse or a jet or a piece of real estate,
Hmm.
it's like it's always about the relationship you have, and
Absolutely.
the asset, the deal itself is always secondary to that.
I love that. Yeah, good words to live by. So guys, reach out to Ash. She's looking for co-living opportunities in Florida and Texas, mainly Midland, Texas. Storage opportunities anywhere in the country, and also he's open to buying businesses in Florida and Texas, real estate related, so HVAC, plumbing, landscaping, anything like that. He is available anywhere on social media platforms: LinkedIn, Ash Atkinson, Facebook, Instagram, Ash Atkinson with the number one.
You got the number one. Yep.
So definitely reach out to him. It was definitely a pleasure, Ash. Thank you so much. It's my honor to have you on here. I love learning about it and equating the equestrian and equating it to real estate. Wow, it blew my mind. So thank you for sharing that. Any last minute words? Anything else I missed out that you want to include?
I mean, we honestly could go for hours if we would
Yes,
discuss more of the things,
we
but
can have a phase two. We can have a part two.
yeah, no, we have to 100% do a part two. But no, I really appreciate you having me, and yeah, thank you
Absolutely.
for everything. So
Yeah, I'm certainly going to come visit while
yeah,
this is
please.
going, so we can do some live content together and eat some food and catch up. So
Yeah, you have to come by the farm, see the horses, and see what we're working on for sure.
most definitely will. We should have a sub-to meet up there at the farm. I think
We
would be
really
great.
should. Yeah, that could be something else. Yeah.
We'll plan when it warms up
But
a little.
I'll talk to Todd about it, and we'll see. Maybe we can
We'll
get.
see what we do. Yes, for sure, for sure. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us here on another episode of Dropping Jules. And Ash, thank you so much for being here with us. Until the next episode, everyone have a great night.